Hello everyone, my name is Fabiano Amorim. I'm based in Brazil and today I would like to talk about cursors inside SQL Server and why we developers like them so much. It's very important to think that cursors are usually bad for performance inside SQL Server, and it is very important to understand them and change our developers mindset on how to write a code, because when talking about SQL Server it's different. It's different than the usual. It's different than a procedural language like a .NET or a Delphi, something like that. I once heard from a very popular book author, Joy Selko. He said the best technique you could apply to optimize a cursor is not use them at all. So before we go to the cursor's problem itself, it's important to remember that on any SQL language, and by SQL I really mean structured query language and not the TSQL used by SQL Server, which is pretty much the same, but it's very similar. But the point here is that you got to remember that when you're writing a SQL command, a SQL query, you're pretty much saying I want this, and you're not saying I want you to do this and I want you to read the information using this and etc. So you don't tell SQL Server where the data is. The data is in a file system that maybe in a storage and etc. It's not a flash file that you open and you read the first row and etc. So it's up to SQL Server Query Optimizer based on the cost of each operation to figure out what is the best way to return information you're asking for. So we're pretty much saying select a name from customers where ID equals 5. So you want to know what is the name for ID 5. So it's up to the Query Optimizer based on the cost on each operation that it has to do to return your data to figure out what is the best way to return that information for you. And writing cursors, which pretty much say read the first row and then next row and next row and next row, it's a very limitation that you're applying on Query Optimizer, right? Because it can't think how it's going to return your data. You're pretty much saying, I want you to do this, read the first row and the next row, and etc. So it's important to think when writing code to SQL, think in what we call a set-based thinking, which deals with tables and not with records, not with rows. It's also important to say that, and remember everyone, that thinking in sets, it doesn't necessarily mean thinking in steps. Yeah, sometimes you got to break a query, a big select statement, into many small statements to make it better, but this is not what I'm talking about now. And the problem of us developers to think and to write good code to SQL Server is that we are not used to and we are not educated to have this mindset. Let me explain it a little bit further for you. So I remember pretty well when I got into my first programming logic class, and I remember the teacher asked me to write in a paper all the steps necessary to fry an egg. And what he wanted us to do was to write something like that. All the steps you got to do to fry an egg. So I remember I came up with something pretty close to this. Get an egg, open the egg, put in the skillet, fry, get the egg from the skillet and serve. This is it. And this is what I was thinking about. But when I remember that when I got into the teacher to show him my answer, he immediately replied to me, where is the egg? Because I'm going to get egg, but where is it? Is it in the fridge? Where is the egg? So then I came back with the challenge accepted phase, and then I fix it, and then I show him, yeah, get the egg in the fridge, and then again he replies to me, yeah, is it your fridge already opened? And then I know, yeah, I have to first open the fridge, right? Yeah. Then I came back a little bit upset because I knew it wasn't be that easy to be a programmer, and then I fixed it, of course, opened the fridge, and then you already know the problem, right? Because I opened the fridge and I didn't close it. Is it going to be open forever, and etc. But the idea was that the teacher replies to me all sorts of questions saying, hey, you forgot about this, you forgot about that, and then I was finally realizing that when I had to write a code, I had to write everything, all the steps I had to take to do something. And this is not really what I have to do to SQL Server, right? And because what I'm saying, you can pretty much write a select statement, and it's up to Query Optimizer to come up with that list in the most efficiently way as possible. And just to show you, I will go to a demo now on how to rewrite a cursor, and let's see about it. Alright, this is the demo on how to rewrite a cursor inside SQL Server, and I'm using the Northwind database, and you can download it for free on the Microsoft website, and then you can pretty much use every version of SQL Server to rerun this demo if you want to. And you can, here's what I'm doing. I'm pretty much using the Northwind database, which I just restored from this download I did, and then here's what I'm trying to do with this piece of code. I'm trying to update all the customers, but only the ones where city is equal London. Then I want to change, if the city is equal London, I want to change country to France one. So here's what I'm doing. I'm reading the customers table, and I'm declaring a cursor, and then I'm reading the first row from the cursor, and then I'm pretty much checking if the row is, if the city is equal London, then I will update that specific customer I read to country to France. So yeah, I'm doing the update for all the customers, but I'm running it per each customer by a cursor. So if I run this, let me run it for you. I'm basically updating 6 rows here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. And well, is it a better way to do this inside SQL Server? Yeah, definitely is. Because I could pretty much say this: update customer set country France 1 where city equal London. And this will give Query Optimizer all sorts of alternatives that it has to consider to come up with the best plan as possible. And by the best plan, I mean the fastest one, right? Because SQL Server could decide to run this in parallel. If you have many indexes, it could run in a wide or a narrow plan depending on how many indexes you have in your table. So it's very important to remember, it is not always, but sometimes you have better performance letting Query Optimizer think on how to do what you want it to do. This is it. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you see you soon again.